Nutrition and Healthcare by Dr. Harry Schick.
If we want to just get all of our information from the media, that's fine, but if you look at, for example, today on the front page of the New York Times, they were very kind to give me a good lead-in for tonight, and they started talking about C-reactive protein, the new findings about C-reactive protein in heart disease. And besides the fact that their information was questionable, this was above the fold, upper left-hand part of the New York Times. This is their hot news. Meanwhile, C-reactive protein, I've known about for about 15 years. We've been talking about it in lectures here whenever we talk about heart talk. So if you're going to, getting stuff only from mainstream media, you're going to wind up getting things very late. And as you'll see tonight, I believe, often not only in an inaccurate way, but almost as if on purpose, totally opposite of what the reality is. I will tonight let you know there's many things that I'm going to give you these handouts in a minute. I'm going to speak to you about a lot of things which may seem controversial or different, certainly different than what you may have heard. I will try to differentiate those things that I know as fact and those things that I think as my opinion. So I will do that by telling you this is my opinion. If I don't tell you that, it's because I know these things as fact. I know it either from my research. I've been in practice now for 25 years. From one thing, makes me a little busy to say that, but one way or the other, I will differentiate and say, I don't know this for a fact, but it seems to me, so that way you'll know where it's coming from. Yeah, here or there, wherever you're more comfortable. That's okay. I'm happy to see it. Don't worry. Thanks for here. Tonight's talk is basically about nutrition, and every talk has to be about nutrition to some degree. When we talk, you see in future weeks about hormones and about adrenal stress and about the heart. You can't have a health talk that doesn't include nutrition to some degree. But tonight we're going to focus in on it most heavily as the center part of the talk. So I'm going to hand out some booklets. I know what everybody wants to do, just like I like to do when I get these, is go through them all real fast and see what the whole thing's about. But if you want to do that, go ahead. But I recommend just kind of hang along with me, and we'll go through it together. And we'll use this as a guideline to cover points that I feel are. This is the bare minimum of what's crucial. I mean, these are the things that we have to know at this point. I try to put in here what I find is some of the most egregious problems that people have when I work with them in the office and what I hear when I talk with people. For anybody who's heard me talk before, you may remember that I'm big on you doing two things while I'm up here talking. One is listening, but more important than listening is breathing. So breathing is a very underutilized health aid that people don't do. So what I'd like you to do is just take a moment and take a breath in. Because it doesn't really matter. You'll get a few things out of it tonight, I hope. But if you would breathe for like the next 40 minutes, you'll get a lot of healthy experience out of being here. When you breathe, what happens is that your body should expand as you breathe. So I just want to take a minute to guide you through this. If you put your hand on your belly, when you take a breath in, your hand should come forward like this. Many people will find their hand goes in or goes up. That's also called breathing, but it's something different than normal breathing. When you breathe, if you think of it as if you take a water balloon, take a balloon and put it on a spigot of a sink, and you turn the water on, what's going to happen to the balloon? The balloon will get bigger, and it'll get bigger on the bottom. So the same way as you're taking air in, your lungs, which are down here, should fill up. So as you breathe in, you need to expand. So as you breathe in, your stomach should come out, your body should expand, you should get larger. As you breathe out, you get smaller because the air is coming out, and you breathe down, and your stomach drops down. So I will remind you, if I remember periodically in the next 40 minutes or so, to breathe. So when I say that, that'll be your cue that it's safe and okay for you to take a breath in. And you breathe in, down here. Your lungs, just for your information, start way down here, a little bit above your belly button, go all the way to the tops of your shoulders, not from here to here. They're actually large organs, and it's okay to fill them up. Don't do too much of that too fast right now, but you may wind up on the floor. If you haven't been doing much breathing lately, you'll get a little bit dizzy. But breathe. Now, even though I say this, I know that a lot of people go, okay, maybe I'll make a note of that and try that later. I actually recommend you actually do it now, because you're here now, so you might as well breathe. If you're going to breathe anyway, you can breathe correctly or incorrectly. You might as well get the most out of it. It's one of the few things in healthcare that's free. You should utilize it. At least for now, it's free. Like email sometimes. Like email someday they'll be charging us for, perhaps they'll be charging you by the breath. But while they're not doing that, I recommend you just utilize it and do it. If you look at the first page, I like this page a lot. It helps put things in perspective. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I would like you to take a look at this at some point. It talks about some amazing facts of life, and I find this very humbling. If you look at number 1, the human body is composed of between 80 and 100 trillion cells. Okay? 80 and 100 trillion cells. That's what makes you up. Now, what's not on here is that on each of those cells, there's approximately a minimum of 100 bacteria. On every cell of your body, there are 100 bacteria residing in that area. So, whatever that adds up to, it's a lot of bacteria. So the idea that we are going to be bacteria-free by spraying our houses with Lysol is not happening. And if it did happen, we'd all be dead, because these bacteria are important to us. But that's for our digestive class down the road. Approximately 1 billion cells per hour must be replaced. So you need a healthy functioning immune system. A section of skin about the size of a quarter has 36 inches of blood vessels, 144 inches of nerves, 1,300 nerve cells, and so on. Number 4, each of the 100 trillion cells have power plants in it called mitochondria, 300 to 800 of those. Each of those have 5,000 respiratory units. This is all what goes into making us up. And by the way, for those of you who are patients here and you've had the laser used on you, it's those mitochondria that the laser works on and activates. That's why we love using the laser on people who need it. There's 70,000 miles of vessels circulating. So the body is, at the very least, very complicated. So if we're going to hope that we're going to figure it out and make it work by figuring it out, it's not going to happen. We have to somehow, it's like I have no idea how a car works. I really have no idea how a car works. But I do know that when the gas tank starts getting low, I better get to a gas station and get gas in it, or else it's not going to run. I don't know why it doesn't run. Basically, I know why, but I don't know how it runs when it runs. But I know that it needs gas. So we're going to talk tonight about what you need to do to fuel your body. I also know that if I put water in the gas tank, at least I've been told this, the car will not run at all. So in the same way, we're going to talk about those things that will not fuel you at all. Of course, the ramifications of a not working car are not nearly as big as the ramifications of a not working body. The good news is that once your car breaks down, that's it. Once your body breaks down, for the most part, there's still hope. And we're going to talk about that. So no matter how old you are, no matter how your health is, you can start to work on replenishing it. Every cell in the body, the cells that you have now in your body are all different than the cells you were born with, except for one group of cells, called your nerve cells. Those are the only cells you have now that you had as a baby. The hand that you have now is not the hand that you had as a baby, nor is it the hand that you had 10 years ago. It's totally different. Which raises the question, why, if somebody has a chronic problem in their hand from an injury 10 years ago, why does their hand still bother them if it's not the same hand, right? Or why, if somebody has Crohn's disease and had it for 25 years, why do they still have Crohn's disease? And the reason is, from what I said before, is because the nerves don't change. The same messages from the nerves go, and they tell the body, build another Crohn's small intestine, which is something that we can do. We can work on that, but that's one thing that you should know about your body. The second page, we have what we call the triad of health. Health is very simple. Eliminate structural, nutritional, and mental stress and you'll be fine. Okay, anybody else have any questions? How to do it. Well, the structural stress we do here, that's what chiropractic is about. That's not the topic of tonight's workshop. However, we consider that 1/3 of the equation. If you don't have, and that's what interferes with the nerves. If you don't have good functioning structure, then you're 1/3 of the way down. You can get away with a little bit being down in some of these, or you can even get away often with being off a lot in one. The problem is that most of the people I know have a problem with that top of the triangle. Okay, so it doesn't leave you too many other places to fix. So unless you feel pretty not stressed out ever, you better pay close attention to the bottom too. And again, tonight's talk is about the one at the bottom left. Next time, 2 weeks now, the 20th, we'll talk about the top. That is renal capacity, mental and emotional health. But tonight we want to focus on chemical and nutritional. The next page has a picture of a cell, which is kind of what I was alluding to before. You have the nerve flow going to the cell, blood flow, oxygen, and instructions going from the nerves telling the body what to do. What we're going to concentrate on tonight is the food part, which is oxygen/food. Most problems when people have when they don't heal, all problems come from some problem in this equation. Often it's because the raw materials just aren't there. If you want to build a building, you need bricks. So if you don't have any bricks, if you're not eating anything, people said, well, your body can take peanut butter and make lung tissue out of it. Well, to a degree it can, but it needs a little bit more help than that, as we'll see. So the two keys to health, value, and nutrition on the next page are you and your ability to absorb and use food. So it's not enough just to eat good food, but it's not enough to have good absorption and not eat good food. So tonight, again, we're talking about, on the right-hand side, when we have our digestive class, we'll talk about the left-hand side. These are two parts of the food equation. Now look at the next page. So, if we're looking at the next page, before we look at that, I want everybody to realize, take a moment to realize what poor health most people are in. Maybe you, the people you know. People have, often one of my favorite things that happens here when we work on people is that they come in for a problem and we start working on them and they'll say, you know what, my such and such went away when over the last few treatments. Now, I didn't even know that they had that problem, so it wasn't like I was trying to work on it. It was just turning on the circuitry of the body, and then the body goes ahead and heals itself, which is an incredible and wonderful thing. Most people don't have that happening for them, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But what happens for most people is the first sign when their body doesn't start to take care of themselves, what they do is that they go and get crutches, which we know is pharmaceuticals. Pills and pharmaceuticals are, for the most part, not that there's never any place for them, but there's a very small place for them, not a very big place. And for most people, what they do is that the first, it's like they sprain their ankle, and the first thing to do is to go on crutches instead of seeing anything else can be done first. So what we're about here, and what actually the alternative health field is, so to speak, although I dislike that term immensely, because the other field is not the health field. So we are the health field and they are whatever they're doing over there. So the health field is involved with getting your body to heal, getting your body to work. And actually some countries, like in China, when somebody is, it depends on where in China you are, but if somebody is ill or injured, the first choice is what we consider the alternative here. Let's see if we can get your body to do it. And if your body can't do it, then we'll try herbs. And if herbs don't work, then we'll try drugs. Whereas here, the assumption is your body can't do it. So if pills and medicines don't work, let's see if we can get your body to do it. So I don't know if you can get a sense of how absurd and backwards that is. And it's not changing, and it's not going to change because if you've ever watched TV, I don't have to tell you why. So every third commercial is a little hint for you to ask your doctor, maybe they forgot to give you this pill. I'm sure doctors have told about it. I'm expecting, can you like page your podcast so there's one is the show song? That's okay, look at this page through the page or whatever. Okay. So I'm telling you that you have to become, if you want to do anything, you have to become like a vigilante in this. And you have to be suspicious of everything, including what I'm telling you. But particularly, you have to really watch and think and feel what feels right to you. Well, I don't feel you need to be suspicious, but it's good training. I've already done the suspicious work and given you what's left. Okay, So that's the introduction. Let's get started. So foods are good and non-foods are bad. There's nothing else. Foods are good and non-foods are bad. Foods are those things, for the most part, that do not require an ingredients label. If you need to know the ingredients of what's in the thing, chances are it's not food. And if you read anything on the ingredients label, you have to look up, it's a problem. So, for example, if you go to the store and buy rice, I hope, there's no ingredients label on it, it's just rice. You don't need to know what's in it. You know what it is. You buy a banana, you buy a piece of meat, you buy a piece of fish, whatever. These are things that all other things being equal are food. That's what you should be eating. 85% of your diet should be food. Eating stuff that you don't need ingredient labels on. We'll talk about the other 15% later. But most of what you eat does not require you to try to figure out what it is and how they made it. It's up to you to make it. It should already just come as food. I'll make many references tonight to animal products. I'm not a vegetarian. I was for 11 years. I stopped being a vegetarian because I thought that there were problems with it for me, and I later felt there were problems with everybody, so I don't recommend it. But if somebody is a vegetarian, fine. I'm just going to make references to vegan. I don't want to talk to that. It's a political issue. Okay, so let's look at sugar as an example of food versus non-food. Now this is going to answer your question of, so what's so terrible about sugar? Okay. So when you eat sugar, in order to metabolize sugar, in order to break it down so your body can use it, it requires many of the things that are inside the circle. It actually requires more than this, but I listed some. Vitamin B1, magnesium, manganese, potassium, phosphorus, and calcium. Many other things are needed also when you eat sugar. So if you eat a sugar cube or something, candy bar, something like that, what happens is that when it hits your stomach, it is a red light emergency. Your body cannot allow sugar to sit in your stomach without it doing something. It also will cause blood sugar problems, which can put you into a coma, whether you have diabetes or not. It will do that. It has to metabolize it and break it down. So throughout your body, you have a store of these vitamins and minerals. So it will take those vitamins and minerals, it will search your body, take them, and bring it to your stomach to metabolize the sugar. Which is fine if you didn't need these nutrients for anything else, like your heart, like your immune system, like your digestive system, like your thought processes, all of these things. So sugar, you think of as a magnet. It's a magnet that's going to suck the nutrients that are in your body, which hopefully you have some, assume you've been eating some food. It will suck it from your body, take it from your bones, take it from your muscles, take it from your brain and heart tissue, and bring it to your digestion to help you digest the sugar. So if you want to eat sugar, go ahead. But that's what you're doing. So I'll answer the question now, which I usually get asked, well, what if I just take a vitamin with all this stuff in it, and won't that work? No. Because it can't take it from your stomach, it takes it from the tissues. The vitamins are not biologically active in connection with the sugar, unless you eat them in a form which is together, which is on the right side of the picture, like an apple. An apple, interestingly enough, has everything in it that needs to metabolize the sugar. Most fruit does. I used to say all fruit does, but I can't say that anymore. Most fruit does. One word on fruit. Fruit isn't what it used to be. They sell something now in an orange wrapper that's sweet and juicy called clementines. That's not fruit. That's hybrid sugar candy that's made to look like fruit. So if you think you're eating 15 clementines a day, getting your vitamin C level, you can forget it. Really, the only thing left in nature that resembles what fruit traditionally was is probably a crab apple. Everything else has been hybrids that sweeten it so that you'll buy it and eat it. I'm not saying the only thing you have is crab apples, but the sweeter it is, then the less likely it is it's going to be on the right side of this as opposed to the left. Now, is crab apples better than a clementine better than a Snickers bar? Yeah. But you should put it in that category more so than you put it as real food. Everybody's had clementines, you know what clementines are, right? them in those crates and they're bound to do. There's a reason for that. So this is item number one. If you haven't been listening up to now, you've just been breathing and enjoying yourself, that's fine. But item number one is sugar. You will, if nothing kills you first, your intake of sugar will. It's implicated in every disease you can imagine. Cancer, heart disease, neurological disorders. You name it, sugar, I can show you how is a factor in it. And what I like to do to people when I'm feeling particularly mean is the following. I say to them, you like to eat sugar? Well, yeah, I do. So I ask them a question. This is for somebody who has a child. This works particularly well. I say to them, have you ever lost anybody that you love? You have a parent who has passed away, or a close friend, or a spouse, or anything? They go, yeah, I have. So would you like them to be around now? They go, yeah, of course I would. Okay, so when you're dead, and we have to explain to your child you prefer to have cake, and that's why you're dead now, how would you like us to tell him that? You know, your father or your mother preferred sugar to being around for you. And that's cruel, but it's true. So every time you decide to eat that stuff, you're saying, I would rather sacrifice a little bit of my life now rather than spend time with the people I love. And forget whether or not it's for you. How about for them? They need you around. Sugar will absolutely kill you if nothing else does first. I said that twice now. So that's how important it is. And if you do nothing else, then change that. Your health will go up, I would estimate, at least 50%. He's up to it, but if he's up totally like that, I have to see it within 24 hours. I tell her within 24 hours. Now, next page has the next question. Well, how about the other sweeteners? Next page is called Other Sweeteners. They're all problems, some less than others. You can go through this on your own. The more complex the food is, the better. Now, aspartame is among the worst. And there's one, I don't think it's on here, that I have to add to this. Splenda, thank you. Splenda is also, should be on this never, ever, ever use list. Splenda is Splenda has a chlorine molecule added to the sugar molecule. You know what that does to your body when you take chlorine in like that? Me neither. I'm not going to be the one they're going to find out on. We know chlorine is a neurotoxin, which means it kills nerves. There's absolutely no research done on what happens when you connect a chloride molecule on there. So, I would rather you have sugar than Splenda. I already told you what I think of sugar. I'd rather you have sugar than aspartame and most of the stuff on this list. Artificial sweeteners we'll talk about in a little bit. The ones that you can have, there's one called stevia. I don't know if it's on your stevia. You can have that. You can have a little bit of honey. You can have a little bit of molasses, a little bit of maple syrup, a little bit. Because those are somewhat food-like. The rest of the stuff, forget it. If it comes in a packet, besides stevia, it's not for you. One of the biggest problems with things like sweeteners is MSG. Not technically a sweetener, but it's very similar to that. Now, MSG is monosodium glutamate. Monosodium glutamate was founded in Japan because they had a chemical similar to that in seaweed found off Japan. They found was helped food taste better when they mixed this seaweed in with other things. All of a sudden, the food tasted better. So they did some research. And they looked at the chemistry and they pulled out what was inside of it, and they made this synthetic thing called monosodium glutamate. And monosodium glutamate is so bad for you that I think it's banned from baby food. And they don't allow it in baby food anymore. So rule of thumb is the following: if the government puts a warning on it, for some people, it's intended for you. Okay? If it's not good for pregnant women or children, why would you want to eat it? You think it doesn't have any effect on you? It does. The same effect it has on them. It's just they consider them more at risk, which is just a way of them getting it into the food, to the food supply. Monosodium glutamate has to be avoided at all costs. You should never, ever, ever, never, ever use that. And when you go to the Chinese restaurant and say, please no MSG, they go, okay. What that means is they're not going to sprinkle, if you're lucky, they won't sprinkle any extra on. It has nothing to do with the food that they already got prepared there. It's already in that. I've never seen or heard of a Chinese restaurant commercially that you go to and not get MSG. So I included on the next page hidden sources of MSG. So people say, well, I never use MSG. Okay, well, then I ask them this. Do you ever eat anything with yeast extract, or plant protein extract, or hydrolyzed protein? If you do, you can be having MSG. Because MSG is always in those products. Okay? It's often in stock. It says natural flavoring. And it sounds good, right? Natural flavoring almost always has MSG in it. How can they do that? How can you put MSG in natural flavoring? So here's the way the government looks at the word natural. What in this room is not natural? Exactly. Natural has no meaning in the food industry. Everything is natural. Natural is not a controlled word. So if they say natural on it, it doesn't mean anything. It's not. There's no legal definition of natural. Now, if they say something supernatural in it, then I would be interested. But natural doesn't mean anything. So you can go through this list, but I would stay away from things on this list. I would certainly not let children have anything. The next page, I listed a book which people wanted more information on. It's called Excitotoxins. And it explains a little bit about this whole industry where aspartame and all these other things come from. So let me tell you what aspartame and those types of things do. When they hit your nerve endings, they cause your nerve endings to explode temporarily like fireworks on the 4th of July. Okay? Now, your taste buds happen to be nerve endings. Keep breathing. Your taste buds are nerve endings. So when they hit your nerve endings, your taste buds explode and become hypersensitive to anything else that you're eating at the time. That's why the food tastes, you get more taste out of it, more flavor out of it. The problem is that they haven't developed yet an artificial sweetener that's specific for your taste buds. It does this to every cell in your body, especially your nerve cells. And you know where most of your nerve cells are? In your brain. So it has particular effect on your brain. And if you ever want to go on the internet and look at aspartame and any neurological disease, you'll see a plethora of information. Some well-documented, some not, but some well-documented about these neurotoxins, aspartame and things like that, being implicated in all these neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia of other sorts, multiple sclerosis, all these nerve toxin diseases. Okay, so there are things that you can do. You cannot eat this stuff. Okay, Alzheimer's is not a disease that comes on that we don't know anything about. We know a lot about the mechanism, and now I'm telling you a key thing right now. Okay, now, one practical piece of information. You don't have to worry about eating this stuff at home. That's not the problem. The problem is buying it and bringing it in your house. Because if you buy it and bring it in your house, you're going to eat it. So you don't have to worry about controlling yourself in your house if you don't buy it. You don't bring it home. But if you don't bring it home and put it in the cabinet behind the, behind your money jar and then behind the towels, the upper right-hand corner, thinking, I'm only going to have this like once in a while. Because you know as well as I do, every day you're up on that shelf, pulling that stuff down and taking one out. You also leave it right out there on the table. If you buy it, if you're buying this poison, you're buying it for you. And if you have kids, if you buy it, they're going to get it. They're going to get it. They're going to find it. They're going to see you eating it. They're going to get it, and you're not going to be able to say no to them. But if it's not in the house, how are you going to eat it? You have to control yourself when you're shopping. That's where you have to exert the greatest control. Sure, there'll be some nights when you're home and you're going to run to 7-Eleven and eat something there, but don't bring it home. Don't bring it in your house. Because many nights you're going to be too tired to run out. It's going to be raining, it's going to be snowing, whatever. You're not going to feel like it. And I'm going to give you some hints on what to do when you get these cravings in a little bit. Next item. We're going to talk about vitamins. Okay, so tonight I'm just giving you I think I listed there. I'm going to talk about things not to do and things to do. The things to do we're done with already. Eat food. Okay, we did that. That was the easy part. But I got to show you what not to do. I do have to tell you one other thing about eating food. Just breathe again for a second. It's not in here. Just listen to me for a second. It's really, really helpful if you chew it before you swallow it. It has tremendous benefits. The greatest weight loss technique that I've ever seen is chewing your food 35 times before you swallow it. You do that and you will lose weight. It doesn't mean you have to lose weight. I'm just saying. That's how simple it is. You have to chew your food. Your digestive problems will go away. You'll find out. You know, I once had this. I wanted to do this thing. I used to love these Infamous cakes. You know, when I was a kid, those little crunchy ones with the vanilla or whatever that chemical is in the middle of it tastes like vanilla. So I was out one year a couple years ago. I said, I wonder what these things really taste like. So I took a bite of one, and the only way to really taste anything is you got to chew it like 30 or 40 times until you find out what's in it. If you do that, it will cure you of eating those. They are horrific. There's metallic chemical taste in there, but you don't get it because it's got this cream over it. And what those metallic chemicals are inside, those are chemicals that are allowed by the food industry, which create cravings in you. There's I think 150 or 200 chemicals somewhere around there that they're allowed to put in food that they don't have to tell you about. The sole purpose of which is to create cravings. But if you chew really well, you can get the flavor of them, and they all taste like metallic chemicals. So, if you want to eat it, go ahead. Just chew it 30 times and see how much you like to have it. Or whatever it is that your thing is. You'll lose weight, you'll eat less of it, you'll be healthier. It's simple. I try to give you simple advice, Chew your food. Eat food and chew it. Can't be simpler than that. And breathe when you get a chance. Okay, this is a big topic. We already said natural doesn't mean anything. Like on vitamins, if somebody says something's natural, don't spend anything extra for it because it does not mean it. Organic and vitamins, no meaning. These words mean nothing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an example of one of the most heinous crimes I feel that is going on out there. Actually, maybe I need to do this because there's something in the news recently. You might have seen recently how they said that taking 400 units of vitamin E can cause heart problems. Did you see that? Anybody see that news? Okay. That's true. It's half true. The truth is that what they were giving people was not vitamin E. It was a lookalike of vitamin E. So let's just turn for a second to let's turn for a second to this page. It's called page 7. Now, if you go to the store and buy vitamins, let's say you buy, what's the most popular vitamin that people buy? Vitamin C. It's the number one seller. If you go to the store and you buy vitamin C, and you look on the label, what are you going to see? For the most part, you're going to see, 250, 500 milligrams of ascorbic acid. And then that's what's in it, and then you take it, and you can get like 500 milligrams of this stuff for like, $10. It's a great deal. There's only one problem with that, and you have to listen very closely to this. Don't read now for a second. Just stay with me for a second, because this is like a huge question that I always get. And this should infuriate you if you've been buying this stuff. Back in the 40s, when they started, or late 30s, early 40s, when they started marketing vitamins, they had to find out a way to let the consumer know how many milligrams of the vitamins were in the stuff that they were taking. Right? Because if you're going to buy vitamins, how much am I getting? You want to know, right? So they looked at vitamin C, and when they saw it, they saw that it was covered, chemistry of vitamin C, listen to this very carefully, the chemistry of vitamin C was covered with a shell. That shell was called ascorbic acid. Okay? Like a banana peel around a banana. Okay? When you go to the store, you buy bananas, they can count the peels. They don't have to open up to make sure there's a banana inside. Right? You know, they assume you got a banana peel, looks like something inside, must be a banana. So you see ascorbic acid, you figure, great, vitamin C is inside. That's what ascorbic acid does. It's a protective covering of vitamin C. So they created a legal definition that ascorbic acid equals vitamin C. So they said you can count the ascorbic acids, and that's what you sell to people. That created a huge problem. And I use the word vitamin companies loosely. What they did was that they took corn syrup, they heated it, and they added an acid to it, and on the other end, out popped ascorbic acid. That's it. Ascorbic acid. And they could sell that legally, and they still do, and most everything you see in a health food store is this. They sell that as vitamin C. That's like going to the store and buying a banana peel. Right? And not getting the banana. But if you look at, on page 7, these are all the things that should be in vitamin C. You don't get any of those when you buy ascorbic acid. Okay, next question. But I feel better when I take a lot of, when I catch a cold, I take a lot of vitamin C, I feel better, right? Many people do. Because they're acidifying themselves with ascorbic acid. You could also use vinegar. It's a lot cheaper. It's acetic acid. You'll get the same benefit from that. Okay, so if that was it, then all right, so people waste a little money. What's the big deal? There's a problem. And I want you to hear this and tell everybody you know who's taking vitamin C this. What people mistakenly think is, doesn't matter how much vitamin C I take, because it's water soluble, and you just urinate it out. What's the big deal, right? Have you ever heard this? You know this idea? Okay. That's another half-truth. It is water soluble, and you do urinate the extra vitamin C out, ascorbic acid out, but it can't come out on its own. It has to latch onto a mineral, and then it comes out. It needs a mineral carrier. So all these people are taking all this ascorbic acid day in and day out, depleting themselves of minerals. Depleting themselves of minerals. Problem number 1. Problem number 2. When your body sees 500 milligrams of ascorbic acid coming in, what does your body assume is coming with it? The real thing. The vitamin C must be inside. There is no body mechanism of ascorbic acid. It doesn't exist in nature by itself. So it assumes it's getting all this vitamin C. It doesn't need that much vitamin C. So what does it do? It takes whatever vitamin C you've got in your body and you urinate it out. So the more ascorbic acid you take, the more vitamin C you urinate out. The more minerals you urinate out. When we start locking people up for doing this stuff, the people that are doing this, I'd like to put on the list. And I can tell you the same story with vitamin E, vitamin B, and so forth. But when you buy stuff, the only vitamins you should ever use, with a few exceptions, are from food sources. We're back to food again. The stuff that we use here in the office, we use it because it's food. It's ground up dehydrated food. You can't get healthy taking this. You can't take all these chemicals from chemical sources and assume it's going to have any activity in your body. It's like if you analyze a leaf and you put a leaf. Let's say you take the 10 components of a leaf, you put it in a blender and turn the blender on. How long will it take until a leaf pops out? It's not going to happen. It will never happen. You cannot get healthy taking this junk, and it will make you sick. Yes.
Okay, if a vitamin says it's from natural food concentrate, is that what you're saying?
That may be okay, but that's not controlled, so I'd have to look at the label. Let me put it like this. If it's got more than 10 milligrams of vitamin C, I'm very suspicious. More than 5 to 10 units of vitamin E, I'm very suspicious. Okay. Vitamin B, the same thing. I'm wondering how they're doing that. You can go on here reading all this stuff. I put a lot of stuff in here on vitamin C. Again, that's in parentheses. It's not really vitamin C. You cannot take. There's no side effects to too much vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin A. You can't take too much vitamin A. There's no such thing. It's just food. Your body will metabolize it out. You don't have to worry about overdosing the real thing. So only the synthetics. Oh, I did have vitamin E here on page, it says fact number 5 on page 6. Vitamin E complex. Same thing, except the covering of vitamin E is called tocopherols. Tocopherols, just take one moment, is an interesting idea. There's 2 places to get tocopherols. One is from real vitamin E in nature. The other is that by some strange twist, it's a byproduct of film emulsion. So when Kodak makes film, they have all this runoff of tocopherols, which then they can sell to Merck to put into your vitamins. So most vitamin E that you're getting synthetically actually comes from film emulsion. I'll tell you when I'll tell you something that's not, I can say no for a fact. Not to mention that these are also petroleum-based tablets that you're taking. Most vitamins in the market are petroleum-based. As far as I know, there's no minimum daily requirements of petroleum. Yes, that's right here. We're running out of petroleum for our library. If you look on what says page 60 here, I'm just going to mention one thing about calcium. I try to give you some idea how to read labels. Calcium is good. Calcium is just calcium, but it depends when it's in combination with other things. So the most common thing you'll see calcium is in combination with magnesium. And calcium, it says calcium lactate on the top. It's a little bit further after that. Keep going. Keep going. And keep going. This is all stuff you guys to read. Keep going. Next page. Calcium, if you want to know, okay, let's move back up 1 second when I talk to you about calcium. The second biggest seller on the market. And by the way, you know those studies that show that taking calcium helps with osteoporosis? I don't. Never saw one. It doesn't. That's why if you look carefully at the advertisements, it says that this may be helpful, or maybe was shown, because it doesn't. Taking calcium does not help with osteoporosis. But that we're going to deal with that another time. But I want to tell you that. If you're taking calcium for the osteoporosis, forget it. It'll never happen. What about what? I don't know what that is. Oh, that's a different topic. Yeah. I don't want to go into that. I can talk to you about that afterwards if you want. The one thing I want you to realize, okay, we have 3 kingdoms in the world. We have the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, and the mineral kingdom. What did the plants eat? Anybody know which kingdom they eat? Have you been eaten by a plant lately?
Minerals.
They eat the mineral kingdom, thank you. And what do we eat? Supposedly. We eat the plant or animal or plant kingdom. Right? We are not supposed to eat the mineral kingdom. We're not designed for that. The plants do that for us, change it into an edible source, and then we eat the plants. So the ground has calcium and magnesium in it in a 2-to-1 ratio. Plants eat it and turn it into a 5-to-1 ratio, which we can then use. When you look at your calcium at home, it has magnesium in it. I'll almost guarantee you it's in a 2-to-1 ratio because it's cheaper to make. Most calcium that people buy is from dolomite, which is limestone. So you're really eating limestone. If your calcium is in a 5-to-1 ratio with magnesium, it's safe to use. Otherwise, you can actually deplete yourself of calcium the more you use. Next page. We're moving fast. I want to get everybody out on time. This is a whole lecture, a whole big part of the lecture on the 21st. But I just can't let people come here without doing this. So even though this is not really for tonight, I have to do this. And my own personal bias is when we start locking people up, these guys go first. Cholesterol, and I'm not going to go into the details on it, there's no time today. So you're going to have to take my word for it, and they'll come back, read this book, come back on the 21st. Cholesterol is essential for your health. Cholesterol is good for you. You cannot eat too much of it. Cholesterol does not raise the amount of cholesterol in your body. You cannot raise the amount of cholesterol in your body by eating cholesterol. It's impossible. And if you think your body takes cholesterol in food, doesn't know what to do with it, so decides to put it down on your arteries, we would all be dead if your body had one mechanism that worked that way. This is a myth perpetrated by the pharmaceutical industry. We get you to take their stinking statin drugs, which nobody should be on, ever. There's no use ever for statin drugs. More on that on the 21st. But I got to tell you, anybody who's on statin drugs, it's a fraud. They know it. The pharmaceutical companies know it. And I want to say the same thing over and over again to you. Eat cholesterol. It's good for you. The problem, I'm convinced, now I'll tell you something I think. I am convinced that the fertility problem in this country is at least 75% due to the people cutting down cholesterol. When they substituted margarine for butter, people started having problems with conception. If you're around my age, give or take a few years, do you remember fertility clinics? Do you remember people? Very rare, though. Not like now. It was for the rare case. You have a lot of... The problem when I was a kid was that people were having babies too often. Not that they couldn't get people couldn't get pregnant. Now every other couple, it's like they're amazed that we got pregnant the first time. Well, that was the problem when we were kids. It was the other way around. How do you stop it? Now people say, how do you start it? It's because of the lack of cholesterol in the system. When I see these kids, these young girls who don't get periods and all this stuff, it's because they don't have enough cholesterol in their system. Cholesterol is so good for you. The lean meat nonsense, all that garbage, well, it's just like, I can't say it often enough. It's my crusade, so forgive me for saying the same thing over and over again. But it makes me very upset. You know what? The number one cause now, last thing, the number one, something called neuropathy, which is like tingling in the extremities. You know what the number one cause of neuropathy is in this country? Most people would say diabetes. No, diabetes has fallen to number 2. The number one cause of neuropathy in this country is statin drugs. Anti-cholesterol drugs. Lipitor, all those poisons. When I started in practice, normal cholesterol was 240 to 300. Now they want people to go into next.
That's my doctor. I went for my blood work and
yes. They're not happy until your cholesterol is under 200.
He already summoned
right. Under 200. I gotta say one last thing. The incidence of stroke doubles as your cholesterol falls under 200. Cholesterol protects you from stroke. That's a fact. Next. 8 minutes. Fluoride, the aging factor. I'm very excited about this, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Dean Burke, who used to be the head of the National Institute of Health, a government agency, came out one day and said that fluoride is the most carcinogenic element on planet Earth. Government agency, the head of the NIH, fluoride is the most carcinogenic element on planet Earth. Take a while to guess how long he's working for the NIH after that. 2 weeks. He's fired. Fluoride. Let me just say one thing about fluoride. Then we'll go on to the next thing. You have to watch your fluoride intake. It should be 0. I know some people want to use it for their teeth. I will grant you that fluoride is good to help prevent cavities, which in fact it is not. And I can go over the study. There's no way in the world does fluoride help with cavities. There's a journal called Fluoride which did an ingenious study. There's a million studies arguing both ways. They did the simple, when you see this simple stuff is the most genius. They said, let's go into a town and find a fluoridated town and find out, look at the fluoride content in teeth and see if that made a difference with the cavities or it didn't. There's no correlation whatsoever. But I will grant you that it's good for cavities. I'm going to say to you, okay, you're right, it's good for prevent cavities, which it's not. But I will grant you your biggest argument. I still wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Let me just complete this thought down. Fluoride is a byproduct of aluminum processing. Alcoa, in the mid-50s, I believe it was, didn't know what to do with all this fluoride they had left over. Up to that point, they were only able to use it as an insecticide and a rat poison. I'm sure not in their wildest dream did they imagine they could convince people to put it in their drinking water or toothpaste and eat it. Now, in about 2 weeks, we will be having this unbelievable test in this office to test if you have fluoride toxicity or not. I've never seen this before. I was at a conference 8 months ago in Michigan where I learned from Dr. Brownstein about this test. It's taken 8 months to get it together to find the labs to do this. I am very, very excited about this. It will test for fluoride toxicity and bromide toxicity, which I'm not going to go into tonight. But I'm telling you, you are out of your mind if you don't get this tested. What is the test? We should have it in 2 weeks. Why does he?
Actually, he told me what it was for.
Yeah.
This is educational work.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd rather have dry. Even if he was right about that, I'd rather have dry mouth and cavities than take what was formerly used as a rat poison. Okay, next. Soy alert. Okay. 5 minutes to go. All right. How are we doing? Oh, okay. Okay. This is, I like to do this as my big apology to all of my people and patients of mine up until about a year and a half ago when I was telling them, yeah, go ahead and eat soy. I was wrong. I shouldn't have been doing that. I never looked into it carefully. I assumed that because it was a plant, it was okay to eat. There's something the government has which is called GRAS status, G-R-A-S. GRAS stands for Generally Recognized as Safe. Okay, they call it GRAS status. All the foods, every food that I know of in the supermarket has passed the test for GRAS status except for one, soy. Soy never passed even the government's standards for safety. Why? We get into which ones are okay and which ones are not in a minute. Why is it on the shelf? I have no idea. You can draw your own conclusions. The soy industry is unbelievably powerful in this country. Now, I was confused about something because I read a very good article from very good science from people I really trusted saying that soy helped prevent cancers. And I read another good article that showed that soy caused tumors. How can it be possible? So, I'll tell you how it's possible. If you have no tumors in your body, soy will probably help prevent them. If you have a tumor in your body, soy will feed it. Do you know if you have a tumor in your body or not? I would recommend a full body scan before each helping of soy. Soy is also goitrogenic. It interferes with the thyroid gland. It interferes with zinc metabolism, so it's an immune system suppressant. Well, how about in Japan, where they eat soy like crazy, right? Well, interesting. They don't. In fact, the only soy that they eat readily is fermented soy. You can eat fermented soy. Once it's fermented, the harmful properties are balanced out, or whatever. So, soy sauce is okay. Tempeh is okay. Miso is okay. But don't they eat a lot of tofu? No. In the Orient, they use tofu like we use relish. How much relish do you eat in the course of a year? That's how they use tofu. It's a condiment. They sprinkle a little on once in a while. Soy milk is an American poison. They don't use soy milk over there. One study I saw, and I have to say this is my opinion because I can't believe it's true, but the research is there. A glass of soy milk to a young girl is equivalent to 2 birth control pills in terms of its estrogenic imbalance that it causes. No soy milk, no soy protein, no soy burgers, no tofu, none of that stuff. Milk, the deadly poison. I'm only going to say one thing about this. But I have to tell this story. I'm sorry, I'm running. The rest of it you can look at on your own a little bit before we have to leave. I told some people I was be done in an hour, so I want to just talk about this and then sum up. And then I'll stay for anybody who wants to stay longer. Let's finish up the thing. Hey. Okay, I'm going to do immune system things. Raise it for both of them. Thank you. And then, Kelly, I'm going to tell you a story which which may make you very sad. It should. If you're not already at this point of view, it should. Now listen to this. This is right out of this book. This is the most egregious story from this book. Are you ready? Don't read anything. Please listen to this. In the early 1990s, there's a chemical company, Monsanto, a very big company. If you know anything about chemical companies, pharmaceuticals, they're right up there. They developed a growth hormone that, when injected into cattle, would increase the milk content, I don't know, 8-fold, whatever it was. This is a boon to the dairy industry, right? You get 8 times as much milk out of your cow. What could be better? So they did the studies. The FDA did not allow it because of its what it did to breast cancer. I think that was the main thing. It did a number of things, but it created a startling increase in breast cancer in the subjects that were tested. Okay? They said no way. Monsanto argued. They said no. Monsanto argued. They said no. Monsanto backed off. A year later, the head of Monsanto, the head of Monsanto, who was the head of this fight with the FDA, quits Monsanto. Guess where they wind up working? FDA. Guess what project they wind up on? This project. Within a year, the FDA approves this, and as if everybody isn't made a fool of enough by this, the following year, the guy quits the FDA and goes back to work for Monsanto. The gall of doing this. So your milk products, whether it's milk or butter or cream cheese, that is not organic, has this in it. So people say, well, it's too expensive to buy organic stuff. It is. It's ridiculous. But if you're going to start somewhere, start with your milk products. Because that we know for sure what's in that. If it's not organic, they're not hormone-free, at least. Okay, you can get it to the supermarket. It may cost an extra quarter or $1. I don't know what it costs. You make the decision. People say, well, I do that, but I don't do it for cheese. Cheese is concentrated milk. So is butter. It's ridiculous. You got to do it for your dairy products. That's milk reports. Okay. Now I have in the back here some things from the Western Price Foundation. I encourage you all to become members of this foundation. I know it's a great educational group which does a lot of research. I have some up in here. There's some brochures, but I took some copies, some things from the brochures. You don't have to do everything they say, but it gives you some good ideas. And then after that, I wrote down some ideas about eating so you can go through on your own. And then the last few pages are for people who want to make the transition from junk to quality. Just some steps that you yourselves can take. I can go over this with you individually at another time, but it's self-explanatory. I want to tell you one last thing, which is not in here, and then I promise this at the end. I have to talk to you about oils. I have to remember to put this in the future. Okay, last topic, and then whoever needs to go now. I'll answer any questions. But don't read the end of this because you're going to take these with you. Please listen to me about oils. You know, heart disease is a huge problem in this country, and it's not gotten any better. It's gotten worse, despite all the great innovations. One of the worst things that happened, and I don't have time now, I'll probably go into some of it on the heart talk. One of the worst things that happened in the 60s, and sometimes you look at how these things came to be, you can't believe the thin thread of flimsy evidence that made something from questionable to dogma. It's like unbelievable. I mean, I look at it, I go, this is what they're basing it on? But somehow we came up with the idea that the oils we should use are polyunsaturated oils. Okay, now, whatever that means, I'm not going into chemistry now, but you may refer to polyunsaturated, whatever. So, those are the seed oils, the nut oils. These are the polyunsaturated oils. When you heat them, besides the fact that they have problems on their own, when you heat them, they become rancid. They become toxic to the liver. They become what are called trans fats, and they interfere with heart function. They interfere with your absorption of vitamin E and other vitamins. You have to stop. Again, I'm just summing up quickly because I wanted to give you all the things not to do, and I keep breathing just for the last minute. You have to get away from using unsaturated fats and oils. I know this is the opposite of everything you've heard for the last 40 years or however long you've been around to listen to this stuff. I have all the research to back this up. Tonight is just a synopsis of things. Here are the two things for you to do. These are the only two oils you should have in your house for the most part, or two or three. Olive oil, which is monosaturated. And olive oil is okay to use as long as you don't heat it too much. You can use it on a salad. You can use it on, I remember if you eat a salad, you have to chew it really well. You can use it on a salad. You can use it in very light cooking, the type that patient people do. Not most people who I know. They turn the thing up right away because you got to get it cooked. Okay? I'm talking about you got a very low flame, let it simmer because you got all day to cook. If you're not going to cook that way, then you have to go to a saturated fat. The saturated fats will not get destroyed when you turn the flame up. Two saturated fats that I know of that you can use. Those really three. Coconut oil, okay, which the store here sells now, but I don't care where you get it, doesn't matter to me. It's coconut oil and palm oil. So if you're going to deeply cook something, those are the two. Now, once in a while you want to make a special recipe, you sprinkle in a little sesame oil, it's not going to kill you. But that's what you should be using, like you use tofu, like a condiment, that's how you would sprinkle it for flavoring once in a while. Otherwise, you should use those oils or butter. Butter has an advantage, which is that when it becomes rancid, you can tell because it turns brown. You ever cook butter too much and it starts getting brown? Throw it out. Start again. It's become rancid. You can't use it. So your oils, now, most of you, when you crave sugars, are really craving one of two things or both. Fats or salt. If you would take a little bit of coconut oil and take a little bit of good salt, real salt, we recommend Celtic salt, which is the real thing, and have a little bit of that, your sugar craving will almost always go away. And that's good for you. It gives you fatty acids, it gives you minerals in the salt. You can try one or the other, but that's my recommendation to you. Because that's what your body really wants, and that will nullify that craving almost always.
Are you eating one?
A little bit of oil or butter. I mean, I just take butter out of the tub and I eat it.
Wow.
Oh, it's delicious. And I mix it sometimes with coconut oil, a little salt. You know, I know it sounds terrible, but if you get,
What kind of salt?
so I'll show you afterwards. But it's the salt that most people use is just like everything else. You know, it's like it's not real salt. They take the salt, they process it. As a matter of fact, one of the major salt companies, if you look at the label, it has sugar in it. So you mix those two together. Okay. I'm going to sum up. I appreciate everybody for being here. I went through a lot of stuff very quickly, but look, most of you know me. Whoever doesn't, you can ask me questions. Read this. And all I can do is tell you, start doing it. You know, if you're already doing it, do it more. There's lots of alternatives. You know, in the old days, like 20 years ago, when you had like one health food store every, you know, but you can't just trust a health food store. You know, you can go in there and buy good soy burgers. So just because it's in the health food store doesn't mean it's okay. So I gave you a lot of educational tools to use. I'm happy to help you with it more at other times if you want that. Next week, we're talking about health and hormones. So we're going to go into some other things that do with this, but I'm going to show you and demonstrate to you how, without any medication or any pills, we correct hot flashes, we correct thyroid problems, we correct PMS symptoms, totally gone almost every time. So if you know anybody who has these things, listen, I never like begging for people to come to hear me talk. You know, I mean, anybody's here, we're busy office. We're not trying to drum up business. Who knows like more business? Who doesn't? But that's not the point. It's very, very frustrating to look at these advertisements. We have no money behind ourselves doing this, none. But at least I promise the last thing while you breathe. I'm in the middle of a great book. It doesn't do with health per se. It's called Nexus. It's about complexity theory. And what he talks about in the beginning is this thing called 6 degrees of separation. If you've never heard of that, what that means is that you can take any 2 people in the world, and there will only be 6 people between them before that you can meet them. So you can take a grocer in Sri Lanka who just lost his business but managed to survive, and there will only be 6 people between him and George Bush. And almost always that goes for anybody. So they talk about how is that possible that in a world like this, any 2 people are not separated by more than 6 people. Somebody knows somebody knows somebody knows somebody, and you too. You will get to George Bush or Britney Spears, whoever you want to meet. There's only 6 people between you and them. Okay. My point is this. The reason I'm bringing this up, I got a little excited when I saw this because he explains why this is that we are actually a network of people. I mean, even though we don't have money, the pharmaceutical industry, who is doing what they're doing, we can tell people. And you tell people who then tell people. So I'm committed to spreading this information. Even if I see somebody once and then they tell other people, maybe they join this foundation or they know something. There's no other way to change the healthcare crisis in this country but by doing it individually. So I'm asking you to come next week, and I'm asking you to bring somebody with you. Okay? I'm telling you, they will thank you. Okay? They'll say, "Oh, I didn't want to go. I'm sorry that you made me come, but you know what? I'm glad I went." Because we will show them stuff next week that will blow their mind and to things that they need to do. The nervous system is the number 1 system in the body for health. The second one is the hormonal system. That's what we're going to work on next week. So, thanks for coming. I'll speak if anybody wants to leave. Don't feel, just go ahead right out. I'm not going to stand. I'll just be around if anybody has any questions.